chairperson of CHED, he was a bit worried. He probably thought we were going to go home because we were having our photo shoot. But don't worry, we are still here for CHED.
We saved the best for last, Mr.
Save the
President.
best for last.
Yes.
There being no objection to the motion, motion is approved.
Yes, Mr. President. At this juncture, I move that we recognize the sponsor of the budget, Senator Pia Cayetano. I so move, Mr. President.
We'd like to recognize a distinguished colleague from the city of Taguig and Pateros, no other than the chairperson of the subcommittee, Senator Pia Cayetano. And will there be an installation?
Yes, Mr. President, for her opening statement and
Okay.
for the budget of CHED, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, I'm ready to sponsor and accept questions from my colleagues on the budget of the Commission on Higher Education amounting to 35,463,493,000 pesos in new Sorry, 893,000 pesos in new appropriations.
Thank you, Senator Pia. Mr. President, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from city of Valenzuela, no other than Senator Win Gatchalian. I so move, Mr. President.
The gentleman from
For his
Valenzuela.
Mr.
Just
President.
a time check. It's 12:33.
For his
Friday,
manifestation, Mr. President.
Yes, the gentleman's recognized.
For his manifestation,
Mr. President, just a brief manifestation, Mr. President. Mr. President, last October 13, during the hearing called by our chair, Chair Pia Cayetano, I raised an issue on the case of a provision in the IRR in which it went beyond the law and deprived 3 schools of its rightful share for the free tuition reimbursements. These schools are Taguig City University, Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Valenzuela, and Valenzuela Polytechnic College. In the same day, Mr. President, the chair of CHED, Chair Popoy de Vera, assured the committee that he will bring this up to the commission and make remedial measures in order to correct the issue, Mr. President. And this afternoon, upon the recommendation of Chairperson Pia, I had a conversation with Chair De Vera and asked for an update on the rectification of this problem. And I would like to thank Chair Popoy for his immediate attention and immediate action on this issue. And I understand that currently a resolution is being routed among the commissioners, and this resolution contains correct me if I'm wrong, but the retraction or the suspension of Section 55 of the IRR and the retroactive reimbursement of the tuition fee to the 3 said schools, Mr. President. So in effect, Mr. President, the 3 schools that I mentioned will be reimbursed with free tuition, and these 3 schools will now be entitled moving forward with free tuition fee, Mr. President. So with that, Mr. President, I would like to just extend my gratitude to the commission headed by Chair Popoy for his immediate action on this matter. And thank you. I would like to also thank Chairperson Pia Cayetano for also conducting that hearing and gave us a venue on raising this very important matter. So, Mr. President. So again, Mr. President, I would like I just want to manifest that, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you to our colleague also for putting that on record. And I just want to manifest that Chair Popoy was nodding his head. Okay, and they already have the they already have the signatures for the resolution, so it's good as done, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Can you please update the former representative of Taguig City on the work that you and I have done? And I just want to manifest that Chair Popoy was nodding his head. Okay, and they already have they already have the signatures for the resolution, so it's good as done. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Can you please update the former representative of Taguig City on the work that you and I have done? And I just want to manifest that Chair Popoy was nodding his head. Okay, and they already have they already have the signatures for the resolution, so it's good as done. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Can you please update the former representative of Taguig City on the work that you and I have done?
Thank you very much to Senator Gatchalian. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
for
President.
manifestation.
Next to interpolate, Mr. President, is the distinguished lady from Macbayan, our Deputy Minority Leader, no other than Senator Risa Ontiveros. I move that she be
Our
recognized.
Deputy Minority Floor Leader, Senator Risa Ontiveros, is recognized. Please proceed. Thank you.
Salamat kaayo, Mr. President. Magandang umaga po, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
At magandang umaga rin sa Commission on Higher Education sa pamumuno ni Chair Popoy De Vera. Mr. President, last August 2022, I filed a resolution requesting an investigation into some anomalies in relation to the implementation of UniFast. Ako po kasi ay lubos na naalarma sa mga nakukuha kong kwento sa mga estudyante mismo on the late or even non-release of their tuition fees na tila nakumpirma ng COA report. The Association of Higher Education Institutions in Region 12 President Dr. Agapito Lubaton approached our office and forwarded their complaint against CHED for delayed release of test payments covering second semester school year 2020 to 2021. Ito po yung old grantees, and first and second semesters school year 2020. Same school year. Ayun. And first and second semester 2021 to 2022. Na ito naman po yung new grantees. What is strange is that they were told by DBM last year that the budget for test payments were already released to their CHEDRO 12. Pero wala pa din daw sila natatanggap as of today, Mr. President, Madam Chair. 90% po ng estudyante nila ay mga indigenous peoples, mga lumad. And this account, Mr. President, Madam Chair, jibes with more than 400 complaints that we have received so far from students all over the country that their tuition fees were released late or not at all. Now, the chairperson previously flagged to the Senate Committee on Finance that around 226,000 qualified students may be deprived of tertiary education because of the budget cut for 2023. I do support additional funding to ensure that our young people have access to tertiary education, but I need to be sure these funds are used judiciously. Kung moving forward po, Mr. President, Madam Chair, anong mga bagong measures ang in place para siguruhin na maiwasan ito?
Is that the final question?
No, this is the first question
Okay.
only.
No, I mean with the
Madam Chair.
preface, that's
Yes,
the
Madam
question.
Chair, this is
So
the
can you repeat that question?
Moving forward, ano pong bagong measures ang in place para siguruhin na maiiwasan ang repeat ng ganitong
Delay?
karanasan ng mga estudyante?
I understand the process, but what's the solution? So as soon as you got this, you released it to the schools, or to the regional muna, then the schools. But this, can I say that, I know, this is yan, kaya dahan, marami na yan. Hindi sila. Kaya na. So part of the delays, because September 14 na lang yung Okay, okay. Okay, Mr. President, it was in the middle of September when DBM downloaded the funds to CHED, and they then immediately, well, of course, they released it immediately to the regional CHED offices, which then proceeded to release it to the schools, and then from the schools, they have to give it to the students. One thing we could possibly do, Your Honors, is to also talk to DBM, because I asked the chairman, and this was also the case in the previous years. So it seems fair enough, based on my understanding, that between September and the present, no, it's already with the schools. So maybe we can, if we can get additional feedback, because at least we know that from the time it went to the regional offices and the schools, umandar ng mabilis. Baka we can make I would be happy to make representations with DBM, no, to release the funds sooner, Your Honor.
Salamat, Mr. President, Madam Chair. At salamat din sa binanggit ni Madam Chair na this is not the first time this has happened. Nangyari na rin po ito nung nakaraang mga taon. And this, Mr. President, Madam Chair, jives with our data in my office that the complaints, there are complaints that even since 2019 to 2020 or school year 2019 to 2020. What is this? Okay. So up to this morning, yung mga complainants nitong similar situation ever since school year 2019 to 2020 until this morning, or rather yesterday morning, Thursday morning, they still had not received. So 3 school years running already. Hindi pa ba na-check na ng CHED sa mga regional offices nila na huwag maulit yung nangyari in the 2 previous school years to recur this year? Baka po para sa isang commission, yung 3 years running is not yet cause for alarm, pero para sa mga estudyante na umaasa, hindi lang taon-taon, pero semestre, umaasa sa ganitong financial support, pangatlong beses na silang na-alarma, Mr. President, Madam Chair. Why the repeat performance or non-performance?
Mr. President, the particular school that Her Honor is referring to received on September 28th of this year, 2 weeks after the funds were downloaded to CHED, the amount of 21,846,300. So natanggap naman, but none of us, all of us agree that this causes so much anxiety on the part of the students. Mahirap na ngang mag-alala kung papasa ka, kung you have your materials to study, and then, yung tuition mo pa inaalala mo. So we recognize that, and this representation personally will take this up with the Secretary of TBM.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Madam Chair. However, yung sinight po ng CHED ay isa sa higit sa 400 reklamo na natanggap so far ng opisina ko mula nga nitong school year 2019 to 2020, 3 years ago, hanggang sa, covering those 3 school years, hanggang sa kahapon ng umaga tungkol sa school year current school year 2021 to 2022. Napansin pa nga po sa COA report. So, bakit hindi pa mula sa unang school year na covered at least nitong 400 complaints? Malay po natin merong pang antecedent complaints to these 3 school years we're talking about. Bakit hindi pa kaagad na inaksyonan at iniwasan ng CHED para hindi na rin paulit-ulit na pansinin ng COA o hindi pansinin ng COA over several fiscal years as they overlap with the school years?
Which you have by July, and then they also go over it.
CHED submits the list and the request for the funding in July. And one of the requirements of PBM includes the complete details in the list. And I can only surmise that perhaps they verify the list in some way or they go over it. In any case, it is a new administration, and I have had very successful discussions with the secretary on various issues. So like I said, this representation is happy to find out and discuss with the secretary the difficulties that we end up imposing on the students, no, because of these delays, Your Honor.
Salamat, Mr. President, Madam Chair. Indeed, Madam Chair is correct. Bagong administrasyon ito. So bukod sa it's taking 3 years for corrective action to be taken, tumawid na po mula sa dating administrasyon hanggang sa bagong administrasyon. What new measures will be put in place to make sure that repeat performances of this situation of the students will be avoided? At saka para rin siguruhin, Madam Chair, na yung hindi pa rin natanggap nung mga estudyanteng nakaranas ng ganito nung nakaraang administrasyon ay kanilang matanggap na ngayong bagong administrasyon at hindi na maulit yung ganitong karanasan.
Just to be clear, Your Honor, when it's not an election year, they are able to request it around April, and then they would get the funding a few months later. So it is particularly delayed every 3 years on election year.
Salamat, Mr. President. Madam Chair, so yung school years 2019 to 2020 at 2020 to 2021, so in fact, natanggap po na yung pondo o na-download ito nung April. And yet, yun na nga po.
Hindi, nire-request nila in
Rather,
April.
nire-request sa
And then
April.
more or less mga June yung nakukuha, mga June nila nakukuha at dina-download ka agad.
Yes,
So
thank you.
ngayon, it's a few months delayed because June pa lang nila after election ban ended, can they request for it?
Opo. So kaya nga po, Mr. President, Madam Chair, nung dalawang unang school years na iyon na pinag-uusapan natin, the funds were actually available at least 2 months earlier. And yet,
Yes,
opo,
yes.
and yet, many of these more than 400 complaints are accounted for in those school years. Nagkaroon lang ng dahilan or pagdadahilan for a recurrence of these complaints, these experiences, itong current school year dahil nga naging election year. And yet, yun na nga po, the first 2 school years na pinag-uusapan pa lang natin ay account for many of these more than 400 complaints.